Welcome to Second Half Now, a radio show for boomers and beyonders. Tools and tips for the life you want to live from now on, with Dr. Dan Critchett and Dr. Denise Hogan. Second Half Now, sponsored by Dignity Memorial. It's time for Second Half Now. The doctors are in. Here are your hosts, Dr. Dan and Dr. Denise.
And welcome to Second Half Now. What we do on this show is we are helping people in the 50-plus age and stage of life. And what we want to do is help you folks live a life with purpose and meaning, a life of freedom and fulfillment. Today we're going to be talking about a subject that nobody wants to talk about, but most of us will have to someday. If you're listening to this show and you have not discussed this topic with your family, it's time to get started. In fact, it is so important that if you keep putting it off, it may be too late. We're going to talk about that subject today with a little help from our guest. In studio today is Katie Kalmbach with Dignity Memorial. Katie, welcome to Second Half Now.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me here.
We've been looking forward to this because Dignity has been a sponsor for a period of time.
Absolutely.
Kim Morley, who was the regional sales manager, has been in here a few times.
Yes,
and
she has.
You and I have worked together for a period of time.
Yes, we have.
At a local Dignity location.
Mm-hmm.
And here you are.
Here I am.
Yes, and we're ready to go. So back to Katie and that subject in a minute. I'm your host, Dr. Dan Critchett, a longtime pastor. The hat I wear now is, I guess I would call it a ministry development specialist. I help local churches, particularly in my denomination, to help set up the kinds of things that would meet the needs of people in the community around the church. And so you take an assessment of who lives around you, and you find ways to reach out with love and care for some of the needs of the folks in that community. Of course, it's going to be different, whether it's inner city Portland or whether it's West Lynn or wherever it might be. But that's kind of the thing I've been working on the past few years. And I have worked with Dignity Memorial. Katie and I have worked together for as long as you have been with the company. 4 years, is it?
4 years,
yeah,
yes.
Okay. And and I have talked about the subject hundreds and hundreds of times very closely with people in a room with a table and chairs, and the subject is not easy. So, but that's been the task, and we're going to talk about today. Our co-host, Dr. Denise Hogan, couldn't make it today. She is out of the area. In fact, I guess I can say it. She's out of the country. She was blessed with the opportunity to go to Israel with her husband on a trip, and such a great opportunity. So, all right. So we're going to get into the subject. Katie, first of all, what is that subject you're going to help us talk about today?
That subject is funeral planning.
Yikes. It's hard even to say it, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And isn't it true that nobody wants to talk about it?
People do not like to talk about it, but you know what? It's going to happen to each and every one of us.
You mean no one's getting out of here alive, huh?
No one's getting out of here alive, not unless you figured out something that, that the rest of us don't know.
Well, the second coming of Christ, we don't have to die for that to happen. If we're still alive, then we don't have to die. I guess
absolutely.
we could
I
say
look
that.
forward to that every day.
There we go. Well, and Katie, you have the opportunity of talking to people about this subject too.
Yes.
In your role, it's all about pre-planning.
Yes.
Now, I've been on the other side when I meet with the families in the funeral home after the death has occurred. That's called family service.
Yes.
I've done the pre-arranging as well, but this is when the door is closed and you walk into the room and there's a family and you have some information, you have a file or whatever, and you start the conversation. So a loved one has died and they're here to take care of business. So in fact, it's that experience when talking to people when the death has already occurred that makes me realize how important it is to take care of this ahead of time. So
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that's what you get to
You're
do.
so right. I get to do that.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do exactly with Dignity.
Okay, well, a little background info on me is I am a Portland native, have been one since I was born in 1951. I go to Abundant Life Church out in Happy Valley, and I have 5 children. They range in ages from 42 to 26. And out of those 5 kids, I have 5 grandkids, and everyone's here in town except for my youngest, who recently moved to California. So I enjoy my family. We have a good time together.
Excellent. And you have a wedding coming up.
Yes, my daughter got engaged on Christmas Eve.
It doesn't take much to get a bride's mother to talk about that.
Yes, so
Yeah,
there's lots of things to plan for with a wedding, as
I know. You've
many
been
of your
telling.
listeners know.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
So what do you do with Dignity Memorial exactly?
Well, what I do is my technical title is a pre-planning advisor. And
Okay.
I meet with people in the comfort of their homes, or if they would rather come to one of our locations, that is okay too. And we just sit and talk about their options and why it is they should really consider doing pre-planning to protect their families.
Right.
And if that's something that they want to move forward with, then I help them get everything lined up and written down and put into place. And it really does give people peace of mind when that happens.
Right. And I think if I could say this publicly, I think you're a good person in that role because people feel comfortable in your presence, and I've seen that happen on numerous occasions.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
So, the guard is down, the barriers can come down, and they can just ask questions, and you can just help them because you're not going to try to close a sale. You're not going to try
I
to...
am not high pressure. No.
Right, not at all. I appreciate that about you. So what would be important for our listeners to know about this thing we call Dignity Memorial? By the way, for the past 6 months or somewhere in that area, our show has been introduced every time as brought to you by or sponsored by Dignity Memorial. So what can you tell us about that company?
Well, Dignity Memorial we are the largest funeral home and cemetery provider in North America.
Okay.
We are all across the United States. We're in Canada. We are in Jamaica, the Bahamas. We serve around 300,000 families a year. That is a lot
That is
of
a
folks.
huge, yeah.
That is huge. That is huge. If we weren't a good company, we wouldn't serve that many people.
Right.
So, and we truly do treat people with dignity. We have 11 locations in the Portland area, 1 in Vancouver, and we have a location in Salem, as well as a cemetery in Salem. So a few of the locations here in Portland, maybe the major names that people would recognize is Lincoln Memorial Park, which we are located across from Willamette National Cemetery. So we do help many, many veteran families. They have their service at Lincoln, and then
Sure.
we literally take them across the street for
Absolutely.
their honor ceremony at Willamette.
And we're on top of Mount Scott,
Yes,
right? And so
yes.
on the east side,
On the
east
east
of
side.
205.
And
Good.
further east, we have Bateman Carroll in Gresham. On the west side of town, the larger facilities, we have Skyline Memorial Gardens
Out on the West Hills,
up on the West Hills.
Skyline Boulevard.
And we have Finley Sunset Hills, which is off of 26.
When I hear the traffic report, oh, it's backed all the way up to the cemetery. Well, that's
right.
our cemetery.
That's us.
That's Finley's.
That is
and
us.
we added that to our provider family here not
Recently.
too long ago.
Not too long
and
ago.
I've actually worked there as well. So in fact,
beautiful.
I have a brother that's buried there
Yes.
at Finley's. And so I like that we can provide services to a broad range of geographic area.
Yes,
And Finley's
that's
is
true.
right there. I would say, obviously, more people drive by Finley's than any of our other locations. In fact, maybe all of them combined, because there's 10,000 cars on 26, and they're all ahead of me. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And at times they drive slow enough to get a good look.
Exactly. Right. Any others that we should mention? We've got a couple of smaller ones. We have Beaverton, and we have
Yes, we have Pig Paxson. We have Caldwell's, which has been around for many, many years. That's in inner Northeast. We have Young's out in Tigard.
Okay, right.
Zeller, Chapel of the Roses. That was a new acquisition here
Right.
recently. Ross Hollywood Chapel in the Hollywood District, 47th and Sandy.
Right.
That's where we sponsor the Veterans Parade Veterans Day
Sure.
parade every
Right.
year.
Right.
It starts and ends right there at Ross
Yeah.
Hollywood. So
Okay.
I know many people would know about that one as well.
Well, people can certainly find a Dignity Memorial provider in the Portland area. We have a couple outreach ones in Vancouver and Salem and in Prineville.
Yes.
But they can find us, and we believe, Katie, you and I believe, because we work for this company, that they're going to get service with dignity. They're going to get compassion. They're going to get professionalism.
Absolutely.
A high level of delivery of goods and services, and just that caring that we have, whether it's pre-need or at need. So that leads me to the question: why do you do this work with dignity? What is it about it that appeals to you or that attracted you in the beginning?
I do this work as a pre-planning advisor because it helps people, and I enjoy helping people. This can be a very hard decision, especially if you leave it to the time of need. It's very, very difficult. Addressing it prior to your death is a little difficult, and I'm sensitive to that because, as we mentioned earlier, people do not like to talk about their own mortality.
Right.
So I try to get people to be comfortable, put them at ease. We laugh. We make it as easy as possible as I'm sitting there with people to talk with them. And so that is my main reason, is to bring peace of mind to people, because I see it on their faces, and I will ask them, do you feel better now?
Yeah.
And every answer
Great.
is yes.
Yes. Would you think it's true that the further ahead of time of any anticipated need for the funeral, the easier it is to talk about it? I don't know if that's true or not, but, a 40-year-old who says, I'm not going to die for a while, so yeah, let's get this thing taken care of. Different than an 85-year-old who, is thinking, I don't have a whole lot of time left on this earth.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's true, but anyway, the principle is that it's so much better to do it ahead of time. I'm going to tell a couple of stories when we
Sure.
When we get to the proper place here.
Sure.
So, and I like the fact that you want to help people, and you see actually they do receive peace of mind when they've put a plan together for themselves. Yeah,
absolutely. Because
Right.
once this is put into place, they never have to think about it or worry
Right.
about it again.
Exactly.
Because I know it's all in the back. It's in the back of all of our minds.
Right. Yeah, it is there.
It is there.
Right.
Who's going to take care of me when I die?
Right.
How are they going to know what to do?
Right. And it gives peace of mind to the rest of the family members as well. So why is it that people think about, how did I want to phrase this? Why I think I want to say, why is it important? There are some reasons, why is it important for people to think about pre-planning?
Well, what we have seen and learned in this business is the number one reason that you want to do your pre-plans is to protect your loved ones from the financial and the emotional burden of having to make all of those decisions when you pass away, and to pay for the services when you pass away.
Right. And
People may have money now, but in the future, who knows?
Right.
Sickness can come.
Right.
You lose a job. You just end up without the finances. So do it now.
Right. And be mindful and respectful of what your family's going to be like in the arrangement room after you die. You're not going to be there to make any difference. It's going to be too late.
Right.
The story that I would tell is about two different families where the dad lived longer than the wife, and so she died. Now he was a widower. Then he died, and the kids came in and needed to take care of his arrangements. And in one case, the deceased, the man, had taken care of everything, had put the plan together, had funded it. It was all the selections and everything else. And so when I came back into the room, with the information, they said, "Oh gosh, thank you, Dad. It's so like him to be protecting us and to care for us and to put all these things in place ahead of time." So they said, "Thanks a lot, Dad." Then in another case, similar kind of a situation, and the dad had not put any plans in place. And maybe he meant well, maybe he meant to get to it or wanted to someday, but he just didn't. So they also said, "Thanks a lot, Dad," but it was a different tone of voice. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They said, they said, "Thanks a lot, Dad. Mm-hmm. You left us with this mess. Mm-hmm. And now what are we going to do? We have to make all the decisions, and we have to come up with the money." Mm-hmm. So that's the thing, that a person in your position really helps to get this, so that we avoid that situation.
Yes.
Because I can assure you that the family will remember, one way or the other, they'll remember what you did to have your arrangements put into place.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what about the cost? We want to talk a little bit about how you can freeze the cost of a funeral. So like some people think, well, gosh, a funeral, that's going to be $8,000. I don't want to write a check for $8,000. Well, it doesn't have to be that. So, and it's going to be more later. So maybe we can talk about that for a minute.
Okay. Yes, we have found that over the passage of 10 years, the cost of funerals increased by at least 60%. Cemetery will double.
Right.
In cost. So when you get your pre-plans in place, then it freezes the cost. It will not increase at all beyond that point.
So if you pre-plan now at today's cost, you could live another 20 years, and it's not going to go up.
And it will not go up.
And everything else will probably go up.
Everything else in 20 years will cost more, but you get the 2015 price.
Right. Good. Let's continue about that subject right after the break.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Helping to plan a funeral for someone you love is a painful process. It's one of the most emotional things you'll ever have to do. But imagine how much grief would be spared if people plan for themselves. Though it may sound difficult or uncomfortable to even think about, the experts at Dignity Memorial Funeral Homes and Cemeteries can help with a free personal planning guide that takes you step by step through the process. And of course, Dignity Memorial will even help you complete your plan with the expert assistance of trained and caring advisors. There are a lot of very good reasons to plan ahead. Make sure your final wishes are respected, sparing your loved ones the added grief of planning for you and having to pay for it. If you choose to fund your plan early, you can even lock in current pricing, avoiding increases due to inflation, and take advantage of budget-friendly payments. There is a free informational seminar that includes a complimentary meal at a restaurant in your area very soon. Find out more and ask any questions you may have by calling Katie at 503-807-5715. It costs nothing to learn how you can protect your loved ones by planning ahead. Give Katie at Dignity Memorial a call today at 503-807-5715.
Life is a journey, and it really helps to have a roadmap, especially during your golden years of life. There are at least 80 senior living communities and 1,100 adult care homes in just the greater Portland, Vancouver metro area. At no cost to you or your family, you can plan now for the right fit for yourself or loved ones. Golden Placement Services is the roadmap to your new home. In 4 simple steps: assessment, research, touring, and follow-up, the Golden Girls will help you prepare for the next part of your journey.
We found Golden Placement Services to be very helpful to us in locating a care facility for our father. They asked good questions to ascertain what kind of facility we were looking for. We were taken to a few homes that fit the criteria we were seeking, and we're very happy with the care our dad's receiving from the facility found for us by Golden Placements.
Visit our website at goldenplacements.com to learn more. That's goldenplacements.com, or call one of the Golden Girls at 503-723-7145 today. That's 503-723-7145, and schedule your non-obligation appointment today.
Hey, we were just talking about those things with Katie.
We were.
Katie is right here in the studio. And so you heard some of the special things that Dignity does to make it easier to make the planning process possible for people. Yes. Informational seminars, planning, pre-planning, what's that called? The
personal planning guide.
That
yes.
one. Before we get away from that, I want to make sure that I mention the other sponsors for Second Half Now. Besides Dignity Memorial and Golden Placement Services, which we just heard, we also have 24/7 Properties, residential real estate and property management. We have 180-degree cash flow strategies with Stuart Funke, and we have Warner Pacific College, the adult degree program. So we're going to get back into our discussion here about dignity, and we wanted to make sure to say where we left off was that you can you lock in the prices, but then you can make payments. You don't have to write that $8,000 or $10,000 or $12,000 check today. Tell us about the payment plan.
Well, you can certainly write that check if you prefer, but we do offer payment plans to make it easy for people. We can set up a 3 or a 5-year payment plan for you. And we can also have it backed by insurance if that's what you so choose. And what that means is that based on a few health questions, they basically want to know that you're in pretty good health. Should you pass away during that payment period of 3 or 5 years, the balance of the funeral service that is owed is paid by the insurance company.
So you're completely covered.
You are completely covered. So
even
the
if
family
you're not...
doesn't have to come up with the money.
Right. And so if you're still making the insurance payments,
yes,
you stop making the payments and there's no balance due, it's just all covered and all paid up.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Yes.
All
it's
right.
very, very, very good. We love to work with people to get at least something in place for you because it is so important.
Right. So what we probably should do, Katie, is kind of reflect a little bit about the free seminars. And I know that there's a presentation that is made that has 4 components, and that's usually how it's introduced.
Yes.
So these are the 4 steps or the 4 pieces of pre-arranging. And so I don't know if we have even a minute for each one, but maybe you could walk us through those 4 parts. And by the way, 3 of them don't cost anything.
That's right.
But they can start that process of thinking and talking and getting toward that peace of mind. So
Absolutely.
What's the first thing?
Well, the first thing is reflect. So this is where you start at the basics. You decide amongst yourselves or for yourself, do you want to be cremated or do you want full body burial? That's the basics because we have to start from somewhere. So you start there. And then, excuse me, then do you want to be placed in the ground or do you want to be above ground in the mausoleum crypt? And how would the most important people in your life be impacted by knowing your prearrangements are in place? Think about that. And this is really about what's most important in life. Then the next step is record. We have the personal planning guide that we had mentioned just a minute ago. This is where 90% of all questions will be answered when you do sit down and meet with a funeral director. Put all of your desires and wants in this guide. By supporting this step, that's where we talk about paying for it. We talk about your payment plans and what options are there. And then the final one, this is very, very important, share with your family what you have done so that you don't end up not telling your family and then you pass away and they end up paying for it and it had already been paid for.
Yeah. Exactly. So when a family service counselor walks into the room, it's really important to have that information.
Absolutely.
And I wish we had more time to cover each of these, but a person or a couple can go to one of the local seminars, a free dinner in this case.
Complimentary dinner for 2.
At a nice restaurant. I know we've been to
nice.
Xavier's and Ernesto's and Stockpot, really
and
nice places.
Gustav's.
Yeah, exactly. So good. So, gosh, our time is winding up, our chat with Katie and that subject that no one wants to talk about. So I want to encourage our listeners to go to the website and listen to it again or to download it. And all of our programs will be there as well. So you go to secondhalfnow.com. So, Katie, any final words for our listeners today?
Well, the final word, I hope that your listeners get out of this little conversation that we have had is that the number one reason is to protect your family from the emotional and financial burden after you die.
Yeah, and it's so huge. I've seen it time and time again.
Very huge.
Well, if anybody has participated in arranging of a funeral after the death has occurred, they know how important it is.
Yes.
And that gives them the incentive to not to want to have to leave that to their loved ones. So what's the most important thing a person or a couple could do this week?
Call me.
I like that.
Give me a call.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And I assure you, listeners, that Katie is easy to talk to. And if you get voicemail, she identifies herself with Dignity Memorial. And just leave a message and she'll call you back.
Yes, I will.
And if they want information, Katie, about an upcoming one of these seminars, they can call you to get that information.
Yes.
Right. Because they're regularly scheduled. There's a couple a month at least. We try to switch east side, west side of Portland. And yeah. So I want to also let our audience know that we have other great shows coming up, because we do try to deal with the things that people in our age and stage are facing, where decisions have to be made and actions need to be taken. And one of the important things that I'm happy to announce is that we have an estate planning attorney coming in a couple of weeks. He'll talk about wills and living trusts, about protecting your family with that part of it, with your assets and your arrangements and everything else, not the funeral part. And you're going to like him. I can't even mention his name now, but you're going to like him. We also going to have somebody come in who does in-home care for an aging loved one, and that's kind of a bridge between sort of trying to be independent at home and before they have to move to another a location or a community of some kind. In-home care for an aging loved one. We also have an RN to bring us health information. She's a coordinator for the parish nurse program, Healthy Habits, to help us live better, live longer, and lots more. The programs just keep on coming. I currently have 15 guests to schedule into the show, and so we have lots of content, so you got to keep coming back. And I'm sorry to say that is our program for today. We want to encourage you to tune in every Monday, 5:30 to 6 p.m. for the on-air portion. And then, of course, you can go 24/7 to the website, 24/7 to, where are we? Second Half Now. I lost my thought right there. That's crazy. secondhalfnow.com. And we really do have some updates and changes on the way. We've been really struggling with that website. Now we have somebody who's going to tackle that and help us out a lot. So, but you can still go there, and you can go to past shows and click on the little link that says Talk Shoe. Then you can open or download all of the shows. They're right there. So we want to be sure to encourage you to contact Katie. Why don't you give us that number again?
It's 503-807-5715.
One more time.
503-807-5715.
Perfect. Thank you, Katie, for coming in today.
Thank you.
It's
I
been
appreciate
good.
it.
You do a very important work.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening today, folks. Together, we are building a valuable resource for all of us. This is Second Half Now, a radio show for boomers and beyonders. Tools and tips, we say, for the life you want to live from now on. I'm your host, Dr. Dan Critchett, saying goodbye for now, and God bless you with a life of purpose and fulfillment. Let's meet again next Monday, 5:30 to 6 p.m., right here on KKPZ 1330, The Truth.
Thanks for listening to Second Half Now with Dr. Dan Critchett and Dr. Denise Hogan on KKPZ 1330, The Truth. Sponsored by Dignity Memorial. To hear the rest of this program, find out more about the topics discussed today, or ask questions, visit secondhalfnow.com. That's secondhalfnow.com. Tune in next Monday at 5:30 p.m. for more tools and tips for the life you want to live from now on. Until then, visit secondhalfnow.com.